Welcome to the unhappiest place in the country. I don't know how you determine if people are really happy. You'd have to ask the whole city about how they feel, and I'm sure you'd get a different answer every time. But a website thinks it knows. Somebody ran a bunch of numbers on things that could be considered happy, and they measured the results. They took into account how much money people made, and how long they lived, and what the living conditions are like. And then they added up all the data and made a list. And Birmingham, Alabama came in dead last. I know. How do you think they felt about that? Right now, we're in one of Birmingham's worst neighborhoods at 7 in the morning. This was the 16th or 17th day on the trip. I was beginning to lose count. At this point, I was immune to all the blight and the poverty I had seen all over the Deep South. And this was just one section of bad I meandered through that morning. I don't know if these people are happy or not. I didn't stop to ask anyone. I should have. But based on the way things look here, it doesn't seem to be all bright and cheery. But there's another side to the story. What I saw all over downtown Birmingham and in some of the burbs showed me that maybe it's not so bleak here. Maybe there's some sun beginning to shine through. And maybe it's not as sad as the internet says it is. What makes you happy? Do you even really know? I think I know, but if you ask people, they might have a hard time explaining it. So here's the thing about Birmingham. The internet can't seem to agree on if this is a good place to live or not. Half the internet says it's terrible here, and half the internet says it's become a great place to live now. So which is it? I mean, this looks pretty neat, right? It's clean and it's hustle and bustle. It looks a hell of a lot better than a lot of the progressive cities I've seen out west. And I was not expecting this. I'd see the real side of Birmingham the next day. But my first impression was, this place is coming up. Everywhere you look downtown, there's building going on. Old buildings that were abandoned or being turned into condos and restaurants. Gentrification is good and bad, I suppose, but the alternative is run down and crumbling. Nobody wants that. And I talked to a bunch of people when I was down here, and I was like, dang, downtown Birmingham's awesome. And they were like, I know. They told me that before they moved here, they had heard all this bad stuff about Birmingham, but they love it here now, and they're not going anywhere. One woman told me she thinks Birmingham's a hidden gem. Anyways, downtown's the opposite of sad. I can tell you that. But we're going to come back down here later. I need to get to the bottom of this whole sad thing. Plus, I have to keep your attention. You guys always want to hear negative all the time. So here we go. This is Tarrant, Alabama. It's part of North Birmingham. It sort of isn't. And Tarrant is a scary place. The crime is atrocious here. Like, fifth worst dangerous neighborhood in the country bad. I drove through all the hoods in Birmingham one morning so I could see what I was dealing with. And it is bad. Like, really bad. It's on the west side, the south side. The north side is just all kinds of hood. It's everywhere here. The murder rate in Birmingham is 10 times the national average. You probably didn't even know that. They had the third highest murder rate in the country last year. It's up there with Baltimore and St. Louis and Milwaukee. And depending on what site you look at, Birmingham is anywhere from the second most dangerous city to the 10th worst for crime in the country. Citywide, there's a 1 in 49 chance of being the victim of a violent crime. And robberies are a huge deal here. They're taking everything from cars to people's mail. And people here think they can just do whatever they want because the cops are underfunded and understaffed. Birmingham's relying on the federal government to enforce crimes these days. That, folks, is some scary stuff. I saw an article about how Birmingham's trying to lower their crime and their drug abuse. More police on the streets, more community counseling, more after-school activities, more jobs. That's what these cities always say. I don't think anyone ever makes progress using that formula, but hey, at least they're trying. You gotta give them that. But the education's a big problem here. Alabama ranks 7th in the bottom when it comes to education. A lot of schools are just far behind. In neighborhoods like this, it's tough for kids to focus when they live in broken homes and have to deal with all the distractions. You know, stuff like gangs and shootings and drug use and poverty. 80% of kids in some of these schools live in very poor households. I saw a bunch of schools that had been shut down for years. That's a really bad sign. I read that this school right here had issues with kids playing in the drainage ditches near school, and parents were worried that the kids were going to get hepatitis. The city said, we don't have the funds to bring the place up to code, so eventually, school was abandoned. But the crime, people, it is bad here. Not really in the early morning hours like this, but you do not want to be in here after dark. Nuh-uh. I mean, look at that chart. Crime's 4 times higher than the rest of an already dangerous state. It got so bad that Birmingham just stopped reporting crime to the FBI last year. No need to further make that point. Just avoid the conversation entirely. I think most of the crime's in the worst neighborhoods in places like where we're in now. I think you could buy a home on this street for $22,000, and probably less after a long weekend of violence. And all this crime really gives Birmingham a bad name. One website says this is the second worst place to live of all. No wonder this place has lost 44% of its population since 1950. That doesn't sound like happy to me. Just turn a corner in Birmingham and it does not disappoint. This right here was some apartment complex or something. I just happened to turn a corner and there it was. Not sure what happened here. Looks like the whole place just packed up and left all of a sudden. I was just wandering around on one side of town and I came across what I later learned is the oldest baseball stadium in the country. It's called Rickwood Field. It's where the Birmingham Barons used to play. They have a new stadium now, and thank God because this place has seen far better days. It is in the hood. Of course, I drove through a lot of the projects in Birmingham. There's a lot of projects here. This one here is on the north end. They call it the Joppa projects. Everybody knows it's a place where folks struggle to get by, and there's a lot of violence up here. I feel bad for the people that have to live here, because it's their only option. Then I was just driving around some random street, and there was a car just sitting on the side of the road. I don't know if they broke down, or if it was stolen, or somebody just walked away from it. It's not often that I see that in big cities. A lot of people here are just plain poor. The poverty rate in Birmingham's 30%, and that's like double the national average. There's been a bunch of bankruptcies, and the divorce rate here is really high. Those are signs of sadness, right? And the life expectancy here, it's less than 75 years old. And that was before COVID. Who knows what it is now? It's just the unhealthy lifestyle of central Alabama. A lot of people eat poorly, they drink booze, they smoke, and they don't exercise. I read somewhere that 2 in 3 Birmingham residents lack access to healthy food. It's hard to get ahead in life with a poor diet. At least that's what the experts say. But does high crime and poverty and unhealthy equal unhappy? Not all people who are wealthy are happy, and not all poor people are sad. But there might be something to it. If you look at the rest of the sad list, you'll see places like Memphis and Newark, which I've been to both, and they do seem pretty miserable in parts. After hours and hours of plodding through the worst parts of this city, I was beginning to wonder, this place really is sad.
Did you know 52% of Americans say they're sad?
I did not know the exact number, Mappy, but it makes sense. Why do you think that is?
Social media.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! That's how we earn our living. You can't say that. We don't want people going outside again and socializing and reading books. We need them staring at their phones all day.
If I lived on these streets, I wouldn't be sad, as long as I had hope.
Well, that's pretty deep, Mappy. But you know what? It's time to move on to another part of town. Let's get out of here. I can say there's a total rich-poor thing going on here. I saw very little middle class. You're either in a fancy, nice burb, or you're in ancient, dead and gone land. I hate to say it, but that's how it is here. But here's what sort of a middle class looks like. I'm in a typical average neighborhood in Birmingham. A lot of homes in this part of town are selling for $100K. I bet even millennials could afford to live in this part of town. Huh? And there are some really nice areas around Birmingham. On the south side of the city, it's a lot different. All of this is much nicer and fancier. Places like Mountain Brook, Homewood, and here in Vestavia Hills. If you want the Birmingham life, but you need the nice, safe, suburban lifestyle, this is where you want to be. All of the to-do and up-and-comers moved out to the burbs in places like this to get out of the way of all that's happening in places we saw earlier. The homes here are super nice, like $500,000 nice. That's 10 times more expensive than the bad side of town. And they've got a lot of money to spend here. There's fancy shopping and high-end strip malls as far as the eye can see. After you've seen both sides of town, it's pretty clear how economically segregated Birmingham is. And beyond this, it gets even fancier. This is Shelby County. If there's going to be any snobs in Alabama, it's going to be in Shelby County. And by the way, this is Bessemer. Don't you go there. So back to the whole happy thing. If a big part of your city's struggling, but some people aren't, does that make the whole place unhappy? Or just less happy? Because this doesn't look too bad here. This feels happy. I spent 2 days walking around downtown Birmingham, and I can say it's on fire right now. And in a good way. Now, before I came, I heard downtown Birmingham had really improved, and people really weren't lying. They've cleaned a lot of downtown up. There's stuff opening up all over. You see buildings that are being gutted and turned into something, lofts, condos, retail, businesses. I mean, it's all over. Every single block had some kind of construction going on. And there's actually people coming for vacation now to Birmingham. Companies are booking their retreats here. People are sticking around after work to hang out, socialize. There were a lot of people wandering around downtown. I mean, the streets are clean. They don't have to worry about stepping in bum poop or being robbed. I met a lot of nice people, and I saw a lot of smiles. Birmingham's been called a very walkable downtown. I have to agree. San Francisco and Los Angeles are losing people in their downtowns. Nobody wants to be down there anymore. It's gross and dangerous. Here in Birmingham, it's buzzing with energy and enthusiasm. And I never thought I'd ever say that. Believe me, I was surprised. So all of this is kind of new. Birmingham was a railroad and iron and steel hub for a long time. They actually became the industrial center of the South in the 60s. Some people called this the Pittsburgh of the South. But, as you know, all that stuff ended. We've heard it before. Birmingham went downhill, and then this place got a bad reputation. Let me tell you that. In the 80s, Birmingham had the highest unemployment rate in the country. It was dangerous and dirty here and divided, and there was no cultural life. A lot of what we're seeing now was really empty back then, and it lasted a really long time. But through hard work, they've turned things around a lot. The air's a lot cleaner now. I showed you all the construction going on, and there's a lot of culture here now. They have the only ballet in the state, and a symphony and an opera house and everything. Here's just one example. This is Morris Avenue. I like this little neighborhood a lot. There's all kinds of things happening down here. You can tell this whole little neighborhood had fallen on hard times, but not now. Now there's all these old shops and cobblestone streets and all. A real gem. And there's little neighborhoods like this all over Birmingham now. No, but they're going to be fixing it. Now, when it comes to jobs, they're making a lot of progress in that area too. The unemployment rate here is way lower than a lot of other cities you've heard of. The main industry here is banking. This is actually now the 10th largest banking center in the nation. I know, you probably didn't know that. A lot of other people here make their livings in steel factories, biotech, or in the area hospitals. There's also a big auto manufacturing hub nearby. And technology's even moving in. I saw a lot of tech workers buzzing around town. I'm telling you, between the Shoals and Huntsville and Birmingham, Alabama's really making strides. It's also pretty affordable here for now. So, no matter what you do for work, you're not going to be homeless or anything. Well, not everyone. Walking around downtown, you still see signs of sadness. There's a homeless problem here, just like you see anywhere else. A lot of these people have just given up. But this is nothing like what you see on the West Coast. There aren't tents and people sleeping on sidewalks in large numbers, just a few stragglers that linger in some parts of downtown. I hear the new plan is for them to make these new homeless pods where people can get off the streets. Kind of Birmingham's version of a tiny home community. They call it their Home for All program. But even the downtown panhandlers were nice. They were very polite. Everybody was just in a good mood down here. So the mayor here has been given a lot of credit for the work he's done. His name's Randall Woodfin. He's only 36 years old. His big thing is getting the younger poor kids into job training. He's so hip, he even put his phone number on his Twitter account. So I texted him and I emailed him. He never answered. They never do. While out and about in Birmingham, I did a lot. Like a lot. There's just so much to do here after hours. I was really surprised at how hip the place is. Like over the top hip. Almost to the point of snobbery. My first experience in Birmingham's version of cool was when I went to the House of Found Objects bar. Totally neat place. A tragically hip bar with very expensive unique cocktails. I was like, $20 for a drink in Alabama? What? And they blow bubbles here, everyone. And they had PG tests in the bathrooms. I've never seen that before. I don't know if this is a joke or what, but wow, people. So hip, Birmingham, I guess. And then somebody told me I needed to go to this place called the Cayo Coco Rum Bar. No way. Those are San Francisco drink prices. So I settled on the moderately priced Pilcrow Cocktail Cellar. It's a trendy little dark place underground where they burn candles. I sprang for a couple of margarita shots. One day I tried the new food hall downtown. My burrito salad was Look at arcade. One night I ate at Paramount. It's a loudish restaurant bar with video games. I tried to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it wouldn't take my quarter. I always liked using Raphael. Am I the only one? I also saw this. So if you know anything about Reed Rigsby's whereabouts, call that number. And that was my hotel when I was here. It's called the Redmont. Super cool place, I have to say. Now, I travel a lot, and I have never seen a Peloton in a hotel gym. Dang, Birmingham. So hip. The bathroom was the best part, though. I could sit on the pot and look out onto the street below. I've never been to a hotel where I've had a view like this from my john. From my throne, I saw a lot of street sweepers, which means downtown's very clean, right? You don't see that in San Francisco. The hotel rooftop bar is a big draw. That's because you can see all around downtown Birmingham from up here. From this vantage point, Birmingham doesn't seem very sad, does it? Not at all. So I'm never really surprised when I visit a new city, but I was completely thrown off when I got to Birmingham, Alabama. It used to be, you'd ask people, why do you like Birmingham? And they'd say, it's cheap, and there's no traffic, and the weather's warm. Those are all true. But people are actually coming here for more than that now. They're coming for jobs, to make new friends, and to raise their families. Of all the places I've seen in the South, I think this place has the most going for it. There's a future here. You can feel the enthusiasm. I might just have to say that Birmingham's one of my new favorite up-and-coming cities. It has the friendliness and the energy and progress that I saw in places like Omaha and Kansas City. And I did not think I'd say that before I came here. Now back to the whole sad thing. I guess when you measure things, you're supposed to make an assumption based on the data. Yeah, a lot of people here are poor. There's a bunch of problems with crime and drug use. A lot of Birmingham looks really bad. Most of the people in Birmingham aren't taking part in the buzz and the excitement and all the growth. They're just plodding along. So yeah, there's a lot of sad in a lot of town. But it doesn't have to be sad. There's happiness out there for people who want to try and go and get it. And you know what? Birmingham's lucky. Most other big cities I saw down here don't have anything to look forward to. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, man. Well, thanks for joining me. I'll get right to it because I know that you're busy and stuff. Let's talk about Birmingham for a little bit. So when I talked to you on the phone, you told me that as a black man, it's hard to exist in Birmingham. What did you mean by that?
It's it's basically by Birmingham being the forefront for the civil rights movement. It's like I say it's designed for basically like failure for black people here. Like if you catch a crime, they hold it against you. It's it's very hard to get your voting rights back. Everything is like they shut you down. Once you commit a crime, they shut you all the way down. You can't do anything. It's like your life is at a hold.
Okay, is that why the city is struggling with crime and poverty and stuff? Then
In most cases, yes, but in some, I say no. Most cases of it being it's the employment rate here is down, so it's a lot of people that's not employed, and that makes it where a lot of crime and trouble comes into the city.
how come there's a lot of people that aren't employed?
Honestly, I'll say maybe 40% of it, maybe 40% could be because of their background, their felony, their record, and the other 60% probably maybe some people just don't want to work or just want to live off the government. I'm not sure.
Hmm. So I drove around in Birmingham and saw downtown has a lot of new stuff going on, and then you go like a mile outside of downtown on the west side and the south side. It's pretty rough still. Why is there such a big difference between the two?
They're putting the money behind the city instead of the people into the city. They're they're building new stadiums, they're building prisons, but instead of making it more of a for I say it if I'm saying it right, don't quote me, but the economy. So they're not putting it towards like better education for people or even opening up more jobs for people. They're not even trying to do any of that here.
Let me ask you this. All right. So when I asked you about the crime, you said it's like crabs in a bucket. What did you mean by that?
It's like what I mean by crabs in the bucket. I mean it's like everyone here don't no one want to see no one on top. So everyone they'll rather pull you down than help you get to the top.
So there's like a lot of like jealousy and hate among the black community, and they don't want to see each other succeed. So they like
Yes.
bring each other down and fight each other.
That's just being honest. That's with any race or community. That's any race or community, but it's very heavy in the black community.
Why is that?
Jealousy. It's just because basically jealousy. Don't nobody want to see nobody doing better than them.
So that's why there's so much crime.
Mm, I'll say, but majority of it, no. It just I'm gonna excuse my language, but it's just stupid people doing stupid things.
Hmm. So poverty and crime is one of the main problems with Birmingham and stuff. Why do you
Yeah.
think that? What do they need to do to fix all that stuff?
Honestly, I think they need more structure, more police. Uh, I mean, they have a curfew here, so by it being like for teenagers, you can't be out on the weekends after a certain time. But I feel as if you're not going to work, you shouldn't really be out.
Hmm. Has the crime gotten worse there?
Uh, Over the past 5 years, it's been going up and down, but over the last year, it's been rough. The last year and a half, maybe it's been very rough here.
Why do you think it's getting worse?
Honestly, it's congested. Birmingham is too congested. It's too many people here. So I mean, you got different people from different states, different cities, different mindsets, different attitudes. So it's like You cram all of that into one space, and it's going to be chaos. It's bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. What's the main driving force behind? Is it drug related stuff? Is it gang stuff? Like bored teenagers? All of it?
All of it, yes. I'll say all of it because actually the teenagers are the ones who really are doing the most killing here. It's the kids.
So if you were in charge of Birmingham and you could make one change on your side of town to fix the problem with the crime, what would you do?
Add more police and make sure everyone has a job. Try to at least put it to where jobs are available for anyone to get without so many restrictions.
So do you think a lot of the teenagers would work, like 16-year-olds would go get a job if there were, I mean, they could, there's jobs they could do, right?
Yeah, I would think they would, but it's all about the parenting. If the parents don't push the issue to go out and get you to your own money to take care of yourself, then you're bound to you're bound to have a bad apple sometimes. But if you have stricter parents or parents that's like riding their kids, I think it'll be a better place.
Mm-hmm. Do you think America's changed the values that we all have? Because you're a younger guy, but we're kind of both. We're not young anymore. When I was a kid, we didn't have to worry about as much of this stuff. We could go
Yeah.
out and play. We could ride our bikes. We didn't have to worry about getting shot. We didn't have to worry about any of this stuff. What's changed?
The economy. It's all of the when COVID hit here, it was terrible. Like I think COVID was the downfall of the state to me because it put a lot of people out of work except the essential workers. But then it was bills was piling up, and then you have the governor, K. Ivy. I know, and I don't mean to be biased about it, but it's like once you when Trump had gave when he gave that last bit of the COVID relief funds to the people, it was and here K. Ivy took the rest of the money that was supposed to be given to the people. She took it to build 3 mega prisons, and that I'm gonna be honest, that made a lot of people mad in the state. Like you take our money that's for us to better ourselves or get over the little hump that we're in or the bind that we're in, but you take that money and you go build a prison with it. And it's wrong, but I understand it. But for the most part of it, it's like, what about the people who's thriving and trying to make the state thrive? Who's trying? The people who's working, the hardworking people in the community. What about those people?
So you think more cops on the streets would help? Meaning, like it'll deter, like just lock up some of the teenagers that are causing the problems. You think that'll be a big help?
Yes and no, but yes, but for the most part, no, because locking the person up is not technically going to make them do right or do wrong. So I feel it's like it should be like the big brother, big sister programs. Like they should have more of those to where the mentorships. It needs to be a lot of more mentorships in the city anyway, because there's not many places here that you would have a mentor or you get mentorships from. So it's like that would help in a major way to deter the teens from being criminals into productive young adults.
So the police presence is not necessarily arresting people. It's about trying to get out in the community and telling people like there's alternatives and counseling and being out there as a community member, not necessarily a law enforcer.
Yes, that'll be very much instead of like every time you ride down the street, you can see a policeman that pull a car over, and the way they're being roughhousing, like snatching a person out of a car, you see that a lot. So it's like instead of being so aggressive, just try walking in the community, communicating with the people, making sure the elderly people are okay in that community, especially in the crime-ridden areas. Like walk and check on the elderly. Those are the people that needed to be checked on because you have shootings and gunfights and all of that, and it's like a bullet don't have a name. So go check. Just make sure you. I mean, the shot spotter is cool, but your response time is not on point. So you get a faster response time to a lot of crime and a lot of situations, it'll be better.
Mhm. Is the black community afraid of the police?
Some some are and most are not.
Do they like hate the police?
Yes.
Why?
Honestly, it stems from the mall shooting here. So it really stems from that mall shooting.
What was the mall shooting? I don't know about the mall shooting.
The officer killed the black guy in the Galleria Mall. That was like what, a year ago? 2 years ago? About 2 years ago. He killed the guy in the Galleria Mall, shot him. But the ironic thing about it is, and it's crazy, the officer that did it, I grew up with the officer. I went to school with him through middle school, elementary school, so I know the officer. But it's sad, but they're taking a lot away from the city. So it's very hard to where for people that like the police, it's very hard.
What do you think of the future of Birmingham? What do you think the city's going to be like in 5 or 10 years?
Okay, on a 5 year scale, if KI is out of office and they have a new mayor, a new governor, yeah, I can see it changing for the better. But by her putting that new prison up and it's taken out of the taxpayers' dollar, mm, I don't see it in the 5 years. I don't see it being a good thing. But in the long term, for 10 years, maybe I'm not sure because the economy is still messed up, and it's kind of like we're still in a drought here anyway. So we're still in a recession here, just about.
Yeah, but I mean, I get you, but I go downtown and there's like all kinds of stuff opening up. There's jobs, there's opportunities, there's buildings going on, and like new stuff opening. Can't the folks from like the bad part of town go over there and like get jobs and try to like get in on some of the growth and like the place will get better?
Most people, they wouldn't. Most people downtown really wouldn't hire people from like the hoods. They wouldn't. They'll look at you with the under eye. They'll look at you like something's wrong with you. Like how my hair is, they'll judge you by your hair. They'll judge you by the way you look, your character, your facial expressions. They judge you by everything. So it's like that's a big. I'm not a fan of a person that judges a person by the cover. I like to read the first page just to see if I'm gonna like the book. So if more people would give chances to do that, then yes, it will be better. For me, it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I see it being better, but right now, nah, I don't. Cause now I have 6 kids, so I want. I honestly just want the education here, the education and the poverty and the and the crime that says slow down out of the sake of my kids.
Hey guys, I'm being joined by Cameron Monet, who lives in Birmingham. Hi, Cameron.
Hey y'all.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. A little under the weather, so excuse my voice and energy. I'm gonna do the best I can, y'all.
I would appreciate you taking some time. I know you're not feeling well. But I wanted to really, so I ran into you when I was in Birmingham, and I wanted to talk to you because you've lived there for a little bit now. And you're active in the Birmingham community. You're a lawyer and you're a social media influencer. Can you tell everybody your socials really quick?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a lawyer, content creator, and influencer marketing consultant in the Birmingham, Alabama area. I'm not originally from here, but I do love the South, so that's why I'm still here. My socials are all Cameron Monet, Cameron with a K, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Lemonade, all the places you can find somebody. I'm on there.
Good. You're busy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the reason you drew my attention because you're clearly very active in Birmingham. We went there, we spent a couple days, and I was impressed by Birmingham. Going in, I didn't know how I was going to feel. Birmingham has a pretty bad reputation on the internet.
Yes.
And I get there and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? This place is booming. There's all this energy. Downtown's clean. There's all this stuff going on. So you've been there for a while now. Give me your impression on how Birmingham is growing and changing and getting better.
Yeah, so when I first moved here, I moved here for law school, and I was like, I'm just going to stay for a few years, 3 years to graduate and leave. So I really didn't get to see a ton of Birmingham during those first 3 years. So 2016, 2019, I was like, okay, small city, I'm leaving. I'm not staying here for much long. Then 2019, when I graduated, I got to like really get engulfed in the community, go to the brunches and the rooftops and the hotels and all that kind of thing. And I was like, wait a minute. I love a hidden gem city. I love that I get like a small city vibe, but you still get kind of the big city energy. So that's why I really, really like it. It's grown tremendously, even from 2019 to 2023. Like it is crazy how fast. I mean, we have new restaurants opening. I feel like every other week. We have a ton of events that come to the city, whether it's based here or just like incoming here. So I really like the vibe of a small city but big city energy.
I know. When did all the change start? You can tell. I mean, it's going on right now, but
Yes.
was this how far back before everybody started to notice, like, wow, this place is booming?
I would say like even before I got here, a lot of people were like, you're seeing a different city. And I was like, what? So I couldn't imagine what it was before I got here. But I would say like maybe even like 20, everyone's like 2011, 2012 is when it started to change. Then I got here in 2016. So I was like, okay, I see a major change. But even now I can barely recognize it. There's so many new like lofts and apartments and eateries. And I'll say the food is the best. Okay, I've been so many places, but I love the food in Birmingham. So I think I'd say in the past like 5 to 10 years, it's done tremendous growth for sure.
Mm. Yeah, I talked to people when I was down there, and everybody I talked to was like, I'm new here. I'd heard bad stuff about Birmingham. I was a little nervous about moving here. And then I got here and I was like, holy crap, like I'm not going anywhere. Nobody even really knows about this place. It's kind of like a little hidden secret gem that
Mm-hmm.
it's not overpopulated yet. It's kind of undiscovered. There's an opportunity for people to kind of make their own thing there and not be overwhelmed by a giant city where it's kind of hard to get your foot in the door.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I went to undergrad in Atlanta. So I was like, ooh, that's a lot. So I'm glad to kind of be in a little bit of a smaller city, but I love to see it grow. I love being a part of that growth and being able to visit local restaurants when they come and get that kind of influencer experience as well with some of those aspects.
Why does Birmingham have such a bad reputation?
Yeah, well, we are very much in the South. I would say the one, the obvious is the racism. That's just like the obvious. It's all the throwback history of the city and surrounding cities. I'll be honest, some of the small cities are still very much, you won't see me there, not black female me, not by myself at least. So there's definitely some areas where you just got to play it safe because just history is history and it's rooted so deep in a lot of these cities. The thing about the city of Birmingham, though, it's so much more diverse. And I think that was a shock to me at first. I was like, oh, wow, it's so many different cultures and races and nationalities, which I really, really, really enjoy. But there's still some of that rooted, just old school, black over there, white over there. We don't get it. We don't want to get it. But I think because it's become so much more diverse, you kind of have to get it. Like you have to be in these situations where you're getting to know different cultures, having different conversations. And that's what I like about Birmingham.
Mm-hmm. It's a very hip city, I have to say. I didn't expect to be paying $25 for cocktails in Alabama. But yeah, I mean, the tech, the people that are kind of hanging out, I was like, it did not feel like Alabama being down in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm. But just go a couple cities over, you'll be like, okay, now I see. But that's why I love Birmingham, like just the city, like even the outskirts of Birmingham. There's some really just like good cities outside of Birmingham, like you got the Vestavia, the Mountain Brooks, and all that are good too.
Yeah. Do you think Birmingham's going to get too big and too cool and too crowded and too expensive one day, like all the other big cities end up doing?
Probably. I hope not, but probably. I would say years. Maybe we're talking 20 years from now, maybe. But I still think because of the history of Birmingham and just the South in general, that people are hesitant to even visit or to come or to open up to this experience. And I think that can hinder some people. Because that was a comment that I got. I'm originally from Michigan. So my family was like, girl, you're going where? And I said, just for school, just for school. It's not what you think. And then the fact that I'm staying here and I've had family visit, they're like, oh, wow, like the same experience that you had where it's like, it's not what I thought. I thought we was going to be very much divided, very much over there, over here. But it's a lot more cultural than I experienced when I first got here.
It is. Well, I'm trying to tell people that Alabama is actually not as bad as Mississippi. And in
Oh,
fact,
it's not.
no, I mean, so between Birmingham, Huntsville, we were up in Florence, like Shoals, and then we were in Mobile. Like, I'm like, this state has some cool stuff going on, and everyone's so friendly. Even some small towns we pulled in, I'm like, I never even heard of this place.
Mm-hmm.
Now next door, there's really, I mean, have you ever been to Jackson?
Yes. I've been a few places in Mississippi. That's why the Alabama's theme, they're always like, well, thank God for Mississippi because they're worse than us. So that's like everybody's theme here. They're like, hey, we may not be the best, but thank God for Mississippi because every time I go there, I'm like, get me out of here. It's just not really friendly. I'm like, isn't this the South? They're not.
It's weird. My wife and I said the same thing. We were in Alabama and we were like, these people are really nice. Like they're in small little poor towns where people are like clearly very poor, smiling. Hey, what's up? And then we went to Mississippi and it was like attitude and rude and shit. And I'm like,
who are you? You're not from around here. Child, I'm trying to pump my gas. Like, what? Yeah, even the homeless people here are nice. That's why I tell people, I was like,
that's what I said. I said in the video, I'm like, all the people the homeless people were like really super cool and friendly.
Yeah. So it's like, it's good. I'm like, let's not get too big. I'm not trying to be Atlanta. So.
No, nobody wants to be Atlanta. Are you looking to move and need advice? I do consulting. That's right. I'll sit down and talk about where the next perfect place for you and your family should be. I do it all the time. Together, let's find you a new home that's safe and checks all your boxes. And I can also help you find your new house too. Email me and I'll work with you on not just helping you figure out where to move, but I can help you find your perfect home too. That's right. I know awesome, reliable agents all over the country, and I'd love to connect you to somebody who can help you search for that perfect home. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great. You should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.